If you remember the SQLite tutorials that we did in Python with database, well, SQL is SQL. Tables are tables. It's all the same. The only difference is how the language accesses the SQL for SQLite. So this is tutorial 3. We're going to create some tables. Track ID, track name, and track time. Track ID is going to be an auto number. Stairway to Heaven is going to be a text. And this is going to be real. The SQL, well, it's exactly the same as we would use in Python. Same thing. We're creating a table, if it doesn't exist, called track. We have a primary key. We have a track name. We have a track time. Let's take a look at the code. So as I'm working on these, I like to save different versions in case something breaks. So I'm in SQLite Music 2. We need to add this guy. In order to send SQL statements through Java, we have to have a statement object. This is all the same. We make our connection. We use our driver manager to get connected to the database. Then we create a statement object. The statement object has methods that allow us to work with SQL statements and connect and change the database, the SQLite database. So this is very much like the cursor that we used in Python. So when you're developing a database, or at least I do, one of the things I do if I decide to change, like add another table or something like that, or change the number of columns I have, the number of fields I have, I will drop the table first before I create it again in case I've made some changes. Once you're ready to start getting user input, then it's a good idea to take this out. But this is exactly the SQL we would have used in Python. Once we have the SQL as a string, we execute it, just like we would do with the cursor. Another SQL statement, we execute that. Our table's created. Now we have to do the close of the statement, close of the connection. If we run this, we aren't going to see a lot going on. Yep. We connected our database, the table's created. Yeah, well, it's not very exciting so far. However, if we go into File Manager, remember the DB browser that we were using before to look at the tables? Well, when you double click this, what I did is I set it so that it would open the DB browser that we used in Python. And there's our little table. Track, track ID, track name, track time. There just are no records in it yet. Well, let's fix that by going to the next piece. We're going to tutorial 4. Let me close this and open up, well, it's tutorial 4, but I call it 3. Okay, that's not confusing at all. Well, we have to add yet another connection, prepared statement. Yep, we're going to keep importing things until we have no room to import anything else. Same stuff here, get connected. We create our statement, drop our table, create our table. So far, so good. Okay, we are not directly executing the code, the SQL code. So we use what's called a prepared statement so that we can do the same thing that we did in Python. We can prevent SQL injection because the actual values are not part of the SQL. They're passed in at the last second by the prepared statement, so they're never exposed to anything else other than the connection between this and the database. So we have the same question mark type of notation, just like we did before. Take a look at the SQLite stuff we did in Python. The same thing. We just have funkier little commands. And look at here. We have our prepared statement. We run our SQL. We have our SQL on there. However, we do have to go through and insert things all one at a time. So anyway, that's kind of painful, isn't it? Not quite the same as what we did before, but I'm inserting a bunch of records. I execute the update. Oh, and I realized by looking at this, apparently I didn't figure out the auto number thing, which I should probably figure out because the auto number is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I should figure that out. This means this is the first, second, third field. We update it, then we do it again. Then we do it again. Well, you'd think there'd be a better way to do this. If you do, find out, let me know. We close our statement, we close our prepared statement, we close our connection. Now we're going to have records in our database. Ta-da! Records are created. Well, that means at some point we should figure out how to retrieve those records. Let's look at the next one. This is tutorial 5. Oh my, we need more stuff. Python makes it pretty easy, doesn't it? We need a result set. Well, the result set is when we do a query that brings back information from the database, and we need that to display it. So we zip along here. Notice we're just adding things on as we go like we did with Python. Now we're doing our prepared statement. Here's our information we're putting in there, same as we did before. Notice, same exact code. In this case, we're not adding records, so we don't need a prepared statement. We're just using the regular statement execute. Then, from that statement, we get the results set and get the results into a results object. Now, the results object isn't iterable, meaning we keep going through one record at a time until we get to the last record. So we have results.next. We print out results.getInt, results.getString, track name, and then we get everything printed out. And of course, we have to close everything down in the reverse order. Yeah, there's a lot more stuff for Java, but there we go. Bailando. I like that one. The last one. Oh my goodness, look at here. We didn't have to make any changes. Holy smokes. We go down here, we drop the table, we create the table, we insert our records, we view our records. Now we're going to update a record. That's just a plain old statement. Here's how you delete a record. That's a plain old statement. Just the same thing that we did back in the Python days. And then we get the results set again. I probably could have done a method with that, couldn't I? And then we see the changes. There it is. We updated a record. We deleted a record. There we are. Bad Moon Rising is added in. And that does end our foray into Java with SQLite. This is just showing that it can be done. We're not really going to do much more with it other than this. We are going to do the same thing, I think next week or the week after with C++ to see how that works. We'll see you later.